What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I'm going to show you a clip today, and this actually someone sent me an email. Frank, shout out to Frank. Thank you for sending the email. And he sent me a link to a video. Now, this video is of President Trump on the 4th of July. This is the same day that he signed the big, beautiful bill. And I want to talk about Social Security because he mentioned Social Security in this video. And he was talking about Social Security. And so I want to show you the video, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But I think it's important that we focus on what he's saying. And so let me show you the video first. But before I do that, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video. If you're watching this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so remember, you guys can send me an email, david@thetecshow.com. If you guys have questions, if you want to send me a link to a video or a link to an article and you want me to do a future video on it, just send me that link. Okay, so let me show you the clip first, and then we'll talk about it.
But all the coal miners we love and the truck drivers, in this act, we have officially made the Trump tax cuts permanent. That's the largest tax cut in the history of our country, added to substantial other cuts, which is you're going to see like a rocket ship. You know, we're setting all sorts of economic records right now, and that's before this kicks in. After this kicks in, our country is going to be a rocket ship economically, and we've delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Okay, so there was President Trump talking about the big, beautiful bill. Now, what did he say? He said no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, but what did he also say? No tax on Social Security. Now, what I find interesting about that is that's not in this bill. And we've been talking about this for a while, and we knew that no tax on Social Security was not going to be in this bill. This isn't the first time that I've heard him say this, but there was still hope that they could have made changes prior to the bill passing. But now that the bill passed and he's getting ready to sign off on it, he's still saying no tax on Social Security. Something else that's interesting to mention is he is reading this information. So someone wrote this for him, or he wrote it for himself, and he's reading that off to the audience. And so this is not just coming out of his head. This was set up. And so this wasn't off the cuff. This was something that was arranged. Like, he had the information in front of him. And so before I get into what could be happening, let's talk about what is in the bill. So what's in the bill is a $6,000 tax deduction for people who are 64 and over. And I know before I said 65, they did change that to 64. So it was 64 and over. You could qualify for this $6,000 tax deduction. Now, this is not going to help people who are low income. And so people receiving Social Security benefits on the lower end. Now, this is not going to impact them because most of them aren't paying taxes. So it won't impact people who are not paying taxes. It's also not going to impact people at the higher end, closer to the 75,000. 75,000 is where they'll start ramping it down if you are receiving more than 75,000 a year. So it's not really going to impact them as much because they might be able to use different deductions, and it's over the 6,000, so it's not going to benefit them. So it is going to benefit the people that are in the middle. So people who, let's say you pay a little bit in taxes, you don't pay a lot, and this $6,000 tax deduction is going to bring you down to a level where you don't have to pay taxes. So it will benefit them, but it's not benefiting everyone receiving Social Security benefits. And so that is what we're seeing right now. Now, the promise that President Trump made was that he was going to eliminate taxes on people receiving Social Security benefits. That isn't in this bill. But you still heard him say that. And so I'm going to run through a few different scenarios that could potentially be happening here, okay? And I want you guys in the comments to let me know, what do you think is going on? So scenario number one, he could have no idea that no tax on Social Security is in this bill, okay? So it's not in the bill. He has no idea. And so he's just saying it because he believes that it's in the bill, and no one has told him that it's not in the bill. So that could be scenario number one. Scenario number two, he could know that no tax on Social Security is not in this bill, but does it matter? Does it matter that it's not in this bill? Because if he can keep saying it, no tax on Social Security, then he'll say, well, I kept my promise. No tax on Social Security. But guess what? He didn't keep your promise because no tax on Social Security is not in the bill, but who is going to follow through? Who is going to follow up on that? The only people who will follow up on that are people who should be receiving the no tax on Social Security. So we talked about the lower income people, it's not going to impact them. Now, the people in the middle, it will impact them, but guess what? They'll be getting that $6,000 tax deduction, so it might zero out the taxes that they owe. So if they only owe a little bit in taxes, it's going to zero them out. So it will impact them, and they'll say, well, yeah, you know what? It's true. No tax on Social Security. Look, I'm not paying taxes on my Social Security anymore. But the higher earners, and let me make this clear, so 64 and older, that's what we're talking about here. So I know I keep going back and forth with Social Security because he was saying no tax on Social Security, but realistically, they're looking at seniors, so 64 and older. So the people who are 64 and older and who are higher earners, or you might be retired and you're receiving more in your Social Security benefits, you're going to know because you're going to have to pay taxes on your Social Security. So you'll be impacted by that. And so for you, you're going to say, well, I thought it was no tax on Social Security. What's going on? But how large is that group? That's what we need to think about, because that's the only group that's really going to see the negative impact or the negative effects of the not having the no tax on Social Security and having the tax deduction instead. And so this could be a play where he just keeps saying it. No, I kept my promises. No tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, no tax on this. No, he could just keep saying that. And eventually people will say, well, yeah, it's right. No tax on Social Security. He followed through with it. I heard him say it. And so what scenario do you think is really, really going on here? Because it has to be one or the other. And so, I mean, either he doesn't know or he does know. Those are the only two options that we have. Now, as I stated, he was reading this. And so do you think the White House administration is keeping information from him so he has no idea that it's not in the bill? And the only way that he'll find out if it's someone, maybe a reporter says, you said that there was no tax on Social Security. And this is what baffles me. And maybe, we'll see this in the future, but the reporter's job is to push back on things like this. You said that there was no tax on Social Security in this bill, but it's not in this bill. What did you mean by that? That's what a reporter needs to ask him. And we'll see if that comes up in the future. So in the comment section, scenario 1 or scenario 2, you can just put scenario 1 or scenario 2 in the comment section. But the bottom line, when it comes down to it, no tax on Social Security is not in this bill. And the tax deduction is the only thing that we have in this bill. I talked a little bit about the tax deduction. They could have made it refundable, a refundable tax credit. That would have been much better because that would have benefited more people. But they chose not to. They could have had a refundable tax credit of $2,000. They didn't even have to go as high as they did. $2,000, or they could have looked to see what is the average person on Social Security paying in taxes. And then they could have used that number. And let's say it was $2,000. So if it's refundable, what that would mean is if you owe $2,000 in taxes, it would zero those taxes out, dollar for dollar. And it would also mean if you don't pay any taxes at all, let's say you don't owe any taxes at all, you would get $2,000 because it would be refundable. So you would get a tax refund every year. That's what they should have done. They didn't have to put the whole $6,000 out there. They could have said $2,000 refundable. They could have even said $2,000 refundable with $1,000 non-refundable, which means that non-refundable would be dollar for dollar. So if you owed $1,000 in taxes, that $1,000 would be wiped out, and then you would still get the $2,000 on top of that. That's what they should have done, and they could have moved that forward, but they chose not to. So I want to know what you guys think. President Trump out there talking about no tax on Social Security. Do you think he knows, or do you think he doesn't know? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.